Hi and welcome to another episode of the Career Stories podcast. My name's Joe.
And I'm Carrie.
We are careers advisors for Skills Development Scotland, and in this podcast, if you don't know already, hopefully you've listened to quite a few episodes, we speak to career professionals to find out more about their job role and also their own career journey into that job role, so that you don't have to. That's the idea. So,
and that little behind the scenes bit that you maybe don't realise is happening in the jobs that you want to do. Could put you off, could make you want it more.
Yeah, hopefully more. Hopefully that's the idea. So today our guests are, and I'm going to have to read this because I'm terrible for remembering names, is legal trainee Kyna Malcomson and banking trainee Arnold Masayila.
Correct, yes.
Yes. Yes, we're not cutting that. That's staying in. And you work for Harper Macleod, is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Amazing, awesome. Well, thank you for coming, because we are trying to really stretch far and wide for the different job roles, and also as careers advisors, so we work in schools, so we are speaking to young people who are considering jobs like yourself, maybe moving into kind of the legal sector, or maybe even like the financial sector, so we kind of try and...
And quite a lot of people who do want to do law, so it's really interesting to have sort of two people who can talk about different journeys into that sort of area. Can you speak a little bit about how your environment shaped what you're doing just now and what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so growing up in Shetland, I think that kind of made me think about jobs in a certain way, because there's so much self-employment and small businesses. So even thinking about my own family, my parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents all have their own businesses.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I kind of thought probably that I would work for a smaller business.
Yeah.
Or just even work for a family business. And I never really considered that doing a job like this was a possibility for me. I think even when applying to this job, I actually remember speaking to my mum about it, and she'd said, oh, well, you might as well just put an application in because you'll get good feedback on your application.
Yeah.
And then when I got asked for an interview, then we said, oh, we'll just go for the interview practice. Like neither me or my mum actually ever thought that I would get the job. So it's quite interesting that I did. And I think just because of the nature of the work and the fact that it was a big business, like I never really thought that was a possibility for me. I never really considered that a career like that would be possible. And I think as well, coming from Shetland, for people to do, to train to do these kind of careers like lawyers, doctors, or even really anything university based, you generally have to move out of Shetland to do that. So I didn't personally know anyone that was doing that kind of job role, or at least trying to. So I just never really considered that was something that was achievable for me.
And wait, like, sorry if I missed this, but where is your company based? Where are you based now? Like, so, because you've moved out of Shetland, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we've got offices in Glasgow and Edinburgh, Inverness, Elgin, a Lerwick office, I think.
Wow.
That's maybe Thurso as well. Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
You were quite young though then, so was it 16 when you moved?
Yeah, well, I was 16 when I started at Harper Macleod, but I'd done my secondary 5 exams. So I'd done my first kind of round of hires, and my mum said that you can leave school if you get a job. So, so
we get that quite often.
I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I did enjoy school, but I think after 5th year, it kind of became the end of my time with school, and I just really wanted to get stuck in and start a job. So I was 16 when I started at Harper Macleod, and I started with an apprenticeship in business and administration, because I kind of just thought that's what I want to do, like the kind of admin side of things. And then did my apprenticeship, and then that was kind of the point where I decided maybe law's for me and I'll just apply. And I didn't really think I was going to get in, purely because I think you needed a certain amount of A's at higher level to get in. But actually with my experience, then I got placed, and I was honestly not expecting it. I applied thinking, I might as well just give it a go. And if I don't get in, I know, if I don't get in, it's totally fine. But I think, I don't know, probably being from Shetland, I think you kind of underestimate what you're capable of because you don't really know people who are doing those things, or you're just less aware of it maybe.
Yeah. It's quite interesting as well, because I'm similar to you, so I started as a business apprenticeship, and I think, you know, you've done that because you've went, you know, great job, stable, big company, happy days. And then through that, you've realised, this is actually really interesting. Like, I could do that. Why not me? Albeit you had some doubts, but like, you know, so like, it's great to see you started from like, you know, just looking for an opportunity to now potentially going on a pathway of hopefully a better career when time comes. So it's awesome to hear that.
And I think that comes back to, I think a lot of the time when we're meeting with young people in school, there's this pressure to they feel like their first decision has to be this life decision forever. But actually, sometimes that first decision, it just gives you the space to make the further on decisions to get to where you want to go. I did my first apprenticeship with the libraries was admin as well, so it's like it seems to that a lot of people, like, obviously there's people that stick to that, but it's quite a good starting point for exploring different options, because almost every company or business or organisation has admin and that sort of thing as well. What about yourself? Obviously, how did your sort of environment growing up bring you to where you are just now?
Yeah, no, certainly. So I'm from Zimbabwe. I was born in Zimbabwe, and I moved to the UK when I was 10. So when I was younger, like most people, I wanted to be Superman, but
of course,
still a career option. Don't spoil your dreams.
Then I realized it might not be quite possible. So I had to look for other things. And when you're Zimbabwean, and to an extent from an African background, your parents tend to suggest things or strongly suggest things, and you kind of end up being put in a box of doctor, lawyer, engineer, things like that. And for me, I was never really mathematical, so engineering wasn't a thing I wanted to pursue. Medicine, I was intrigued by it, but I don't do particularly well with blood.
Okay. That's a red flag,
Precisely. So, but I was very intrigued by law from quite an early age. And even just watching TV shows, one of my favorite shows growing up was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Amazing.
Classic.
So
Top tier choice.
100%.
Can you do the song? Like, do you know it word
Don't
for
test
word?
me,
I'm not going to ask you to do it, but I can.
If I listen to it, yes. But I couldn't do it off the beat. But yeah, one of the prominent characters in it was Uncle Phil, and he was a lawyer who then becomes a judge, and you know, he became quite successful and affluent, and I just quite liked the character. So I thought, okay, that's maybe something I could do. But then once I was in high school, again, other ideas came to mind. I quite like aviation, so I thought about being a commercial pilot, but I just didn't have the relevant information of what you need to do that, and I just thought it's quite an expensive thing to get into as well. But in school, I was quite good at English, history, and I just became fascinated by legal systems, why we have laws, how they work. But at the time, it was just purely to do with, you know, employment law or immigration. I didn't quite realize there is the business of law that comes as well. So that came later on. And then I just got into a lot of reading. I quite like legal thrillers. So John Grisham, A Time to Kill was quite a prominent book for me that shaped what I wanted to do. Right. And I think it wasn't until third or fourth year of high school when I thought, okay, I would like to pursue law, but even then it was a week-to-week thing where another idea would pop up. But law was always quite in the back of my mind, and my parents, as mentioned, were quite encouraging of that too.
Talk a wee bit about, see, where you are now, and obviously I've had a wee gap in between that. This isn't the first law firm you've been part of, is it? Is that correct? So tell us a wee bit about that journey from like university to...
Yeah, certainly. So when I was at university, I chose to do law. And it was quite an important time in my life. I also played American football competitively.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Which I'd played from quite a young age, actually. I played for a local team in Wishaw.
There you go.
There you go.
At the time, it was called the Clyde Valley Falcons, and then there was the Lanarkshire Longhorns. And through that setup, I got opportunities to play for Great Britain youth and junior teams as well. Amazing. So I was quite passionate about American football, and Stirling University was up and coming as one of the best American football teams. So I decided to go there, and along my studies, I was heavily involved with the American football team, and it was a very successful team as well. We went to 4 straight British National Championships, winning 3 of them. So it was an important time. I just had to get that out.
Absolutely. No,
I feel so
never be modest here.
I feel so silly. Like, I didn't realise that, like, I think I'm in the border, so it's rugby, a little bit of football, like hockey sort of thing. So American football isn't something that really, nobody's coming to me saying, oh, I'm playing American football. But I do know that a lot of people choose Stirling because of the sports aspects of it. So it makes sense that would be a factor in what uni you go to. And I think that's something that people, like, they forget. They're looking at, like, right, this one's the best uni for the course. And obviously that's super important, but also you're going to be there for however many years. So you want it to go with your personal life and your hobbies and stuff as well. So that's good that you were able to kind of combine the two.
Yeah, absolutely. So did that kind of start to fall away as you graduated? Did you move straight into kind of the job, or what happened after graduation?
Yeah, so I did not want to play American football professionally in Germany. Some of my friends and teammates went on to do that, and I certainly had opportunities to play abroad in Germany. Yeah. But for me, it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue professionally. So I took a year out to save up for the diploma because it was quite expensive at the time. I think it's actually more expensive. That's one thing I would like for them to do, to reduce the cost for that, because it does become a barrier for people getting into it. So then I did my diploma at University of Strathclyde here in Glasgow, and that was my first time moving to Glasgow. Yeah. So again, from Falkirk to Glasgow, it's only 20 minutes, but culturally it's quite different.
Definitely.
And I was there for a year, and then I saw a job posting. The department tends to send you opportunities that are coming up, and I'd heard of Ashes before actually, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity. They were just looking for a fixed term contractor for a big project that they were doing at the time. Little did I know it was going to be a massive project actually. And 20 of us ended up starting at the same time to help out with this project. Wow. But once we started, it didn't get up and running right away. So I just saw that as an opportunity to explore other things. Yeah. Because again, I think I had ideas of becoming an immigration lawyer, or when you watch those big movies, court lawyers.
Yes.
The most common one we hear in school, isn't it?
Yes, that's the one that everyone wants to do.
Exactly. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to explore corporate law, essentially. And when I was there, I got an opportunity to then do a secondment with one of the big banks down in London. So I moved back to London for about 2.5 years, whilst working at this bank for 3 years. Then I came back to Ashurst for 2 weeks. And then had another banking secondment with another big bank. Yep. That was for 2 years. And that's when my passion for banking law really shone through. Right. And I really enjoyed the role, but I felt I had to pursue qualification, one, to build on the foundational knowledge that I've gained. Yeah, of course. And then that's when I applied for Harper Macleod, and I've been there now since September in the banking team.
It's so interesting to hear though, isn't it? Because maybe similar to you in Shetland, but in Scotland, there is still a culture of we don't go too far in wide. Yeah. Not everybody goes. Some people have got it ingrained that they need to move and travel, and that's fine. But there is still quite a
And it can depend on where you're from as well. I feel like, especially like Shetland, if you're going to go to uni, you're generally going to be moving. Same with Borders. Like, we've got one uni down there. So a lot of times, if it's not got the course you want to do, there's that expectation that you're going to move. But I think especially like when I used to work in Fife, there were so many people, they're like, oh, I'm not going there because it's in Edinburgh. And you're like, it's a 20-minute train journey. It's interesting that. So, but it is, there's the barrier, or even like 10 minutes down the road, the people in Inverkeven High School are like, yeah, I'll go to Edinburgh. But the people in Lokelly are like, no. So it's interesting.
It's good because it shows though the opportunities that can come if you're willing to take, not necessarily risk, but just willing to move and go where the opportunities are. Definitely. Which is good because obviously you've definitely done that for sure.
I find it really funny as well. Like you said at the start, you didn't go for engineering because of the maths, and now you're doing the banking side of law sort of thing.
That's true, yeah.
The maths has come.
It really has.
And that's why you need at least your National 5 maths.
Exactly. It has the earbud.
I know, the school will be buzzing, I've said that. But yeah, and obviously, so like different pathways, but you know, in the same company, but different job roles as well. So talk a bit about maybe your kind of role at the moment and what you're doing and kind of, you know, what you're learning, and obviously at the end goal, I guess, as well.
Yeah, so my current role is a team assistant in the family team. So I help with the kind of admin side of things for the family lawyers at Harper Macleod. I'm primarily based in the Edinburgh office, but my team is quite a small team, so the admin kind of assistants all kind of help each other, and we pick up each other's work, which is good. So I've been in that role since September 2021, but I started obviously originally in Shetland in 2019, May 2019, as a receptionist. So that was quite a different role that I had then in the Lerwick office. It was a reception admin position, so I did kind of a bit of everything that they did. So they did a little bit of family and conveyancing, like buying and selling properties, and just a bit of corporate and things like that. And we also had a big estate agency section as well, just because there's not very many places in Shetland really that do the state agency side of things. So we kind of had a full service in that aspect.
Like
so
a
I kind of got a big
bands type thing.
Yeah, so I got quite a lot of experience there. And then when I obviously moved to Edinburgh for uni, I kind of had said to Harper Macleod that I really enjoyed the work that I was doing with family and asked if I could be an assistant in just the family team. So my job is just admin specifically for the family team, which I really enjoy. And then when I start my traineeship in September this year, after I'm finished my diploma, then that's 2 years in the family team as well. So hopefully I'll be qualifying then as a family lawyer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you're quite busy now. You not got exams this month, so I appreciate you being here. That's fine.
I've so just finished my classes for the postgraduate diploma in professional legal practice. So I'm doing that at the University of Edinburgh now. My class is finished just a couple of weeks ago, and then in the next kind of 2-3 weeks, I've got my final exams. So that's exciting. Busy, but I am enjoying it, so that's good. It'll be good to get that part over with, and then straight into, well, I'm only doing my traineeship in September, so I've got a little bit of time.
A little relax.
To work, to do a bit of work and have a little bit of time off before I start my traineeship, so that'll be good too.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Tell us a wee bit about, like, see, obviously you have kind of been there for a while, for a few years, and then you kind of started to pinpoint what you wanted to do or what area you wanted to work in and stuff like that as well. So, like, we always talk about the important thing about like communication and speaking to people and not being afraid to ask questions. Like, what is it that's helped you, I guess, get to this point where you've went, I'm on a right pathway? Like, how did you know this was right for you? Who did you speak to? That kind of stuff.
Well, when I was just doing the admin kind of work as a receptionist in the Lerwick office, then I'd started doing more into the estate agency side. I think it's just the way that it kind of went. There was more work to do at the time because I think the housing market had gone a bit wild. So there was a bit more support needed there, and I started doing that work, and I did really enjoy it, and I found the team really supportive. But I realised when I was doing it that I kind of missed the legal side of things, and I think that was kind of the first step into pushing me into thinking maybe I don't just want to do admin. I might actually want to pursue a more specialised legal career. And I obviously at the time was a bit unsure on whether that was actually a possibility for me. But I think speaking to people in my team and the more legal side of the team helped quite a lot in me deciding whether I wanted to try to go to uni or not. And I also think it was kind of what we said earlier about being scared to move somewhere else. I think when I left school, I did want to start a job, and an apprenticeship sounded like a good idea for me, but I think I was almost scared because a lot of my friends were moving away, and I didn't really feel ready for that. I think it's such a big jump when it is actually moving from a small island to the mainland. I think it scared me quite a lot, and I wasn't ready. But then by the time I'd kind of learned a bit about law and had experience in it, knew some lawyers and knew people as well in the other various offices just from working alongside them remotely, I felt more ready to take the step.
And did the company help you? Like, so going into uni and applying for uni, obviously you're in a job at the moment. So how did that come about where you were able to do both at the same time?
So the application process for uni, I mostly did myself, but I did tell Harper Macleod in advance. So I think you apply in December time and you don't hear until maybe the summer. That might not be right, but I think that's what it was. And I remember when I started doing my application, I told my line manager, both the legal kind of one and the real estate one, just to say, look, I am going to apply. I'm not sure I'll get in, but just so you know, this is kind of where I'm heading. And I would hope to move away if that happened. And obviously, because I was applying to different universities and I didn't know if or where I would get in, then I couldn't say for certain whether I could stay with the firm or not, because I think had I gone to maybe Aberdeen, we don't have an Aberdeen office, so it was kind of up in the air at that point. But I'd always made it clear to them that I was going to apply, and if I got in, then I would go, and I would like to keep some sort of job or even just contact with them while I did that. And then when I got my offer to Edinburgh Napier and accepted it, then they were quite welcoming in saying, well, they asked what kind of work I kind of wanted to do. I'd said family, and they found a spot for me in the Edinburgh office in the family team part-time, and they've just let me be flexible the whole time. So when my timetable changes, then they would let me change my days, and so it's been quite good. They've been really supportive with that, actually.
Yeah. And I think that goes to show the importance of, like, you've went in and you've shown that you're somebody that they want to keep. So they've valued the work that you do, they've valued how you are and how your work ethic and everything like that. So they're obviously going, great, she's going to go and she's going to get this qualification that will allow you to be even more a part of what they're doing, and they're like, well, we're going to keep you. And so that's really positive. And I think that's something that a lot of people maybe don't realise is an option. And I think a lot of times, like, companies and places like that, they're quite happy for you to improve your qualifications, and if they can, then there is the opportunity to work around that. So I think that's amazing.
Being part of big companies, that is what you say, that's the benefit. If you're self-employed, obviously you're at the mercy of your own work ethic and bringing in business. What have you found in this job that, what are some of the challenges and some of the times that things you have to overcome, that it's not always just the fun part? That makes sense. Or maybe that is the fun part.
So for me, working in banking and finance, we advise lenders when it comes to people borrowing money from them, and also borrowers when they're borrowing money from lenders. So it tends to be quite a lot of developmental things. So even when I look at the city in Glasgow, when they're putting up new flats, sometimes we've worked for those people that have borrowed money from a bank, and then use the money to build developments. So it tends to straddle across different departments within the firm. So we would do the banking aspect, but you also have the corporate team that has to make sure all the companies are in order, their finances are in order. Then you have the construction team that have to make sure, okay, this can actually be built here, and so forth. So you have a lot of moving parts, and a transaction sometimes can span over months. And as we all know, life can always throw curveballs as well. So you anticipate things, you assume things, but it never always goes the way that you want. And again, that will be our side. The other side will also have their own solicitors as well. So sometimes you have 3 or 4 different law firms working on this one transaction on different sides. So you're also at the mercy of the other side. So you say, okay, we've drafted this thing. Please let us know your comments. They may not come back to you on that day or tomorrow or that week. So sometimes you find yourself chasing quite a lot because, everyone is busy, because sometimes the TV, it makes it look like there's one transaction and that's all you're doing. Actually, sometimes you're working on 4 or 5 different things at the same time, which is what I like, because it's quite dynamic. So not every single day is the same. But also, I think lawyers on TV come across as having these massive egos. They do on TV, but it's very much a collaborative effort. And all the successful teams that I've been in, it's everybody working together, supporting the transaction. So you really do have to be collaborative. And I quite like what you said earlier about, asking things if you don't know. That is always the easiest thing to do. Because I myself, sometimes you want to prove yourself. So you spend an hour and a half trying to sort something out, figure something out. Whereas if you just ask somebody,
it would have been done.
It would have been done. 2 minutes. So of course. You're not being productive doing that. So it's an environment that you need to ask what you don't know and be open to being collaborative as well.
And I can imagine like that, with law and then paperwork and like, everything has to be right, because if mistakes are made, financially could be a big issue in terms of whatever's happened. I've not got a direct example because I don't work in obviously the industry, but I can imagine that there is maybe a little bit of pressure around making sure that everything you do is by the book and that you've covered everything you can, because if it's legally binding, then it's legally binding. So like there must be. Did you feel that pressure sometimes in terms of just making sure we get everything right?
Yeah, certainly. But as you said, mistakes will be made. At the end of the day, we're all human. And at this stage, as a trainee, I'm not saying you're expected to make mistakes, but they will happen. And the best advice I've always been given is, when you do make mistakes, don't cover it up.
Own up to it,
Do not cover it up.
That's fair.
And it's never quite as bad as you think. So when you do make a mistake, just flag it to somebody. And sometimes you'll make a mistake and you don't notice it. But, we have a 4 eyes kind of policy where something that I draft, even if it's an email document, it doesn't go straight to the client. It will go up the chain of command a few stages. So it might be to a solicitor.
I wish we had that. Sometimes I send things and I'm like, what is that?
Exactly. So, you do have that coverage as well. So things will be reviewed before they go out. But again, as you gain experience, you make fewer and fewer mistakes. We have a thing where if I draft a document and I send it to the other side or send it to my supervisor, she might have comments. So I run a comparison of what I did and what she then did. That way I know what I can do next time, because these transactions tend to be quite repetitive.
Okay.
So it might be a different client, but it's the same kind of thing. People always want to buy something or sell something.
Yeah.
So the principles become the same. But we have a really good learning and development team as well that really help you throughout the course of your training.
That's good.
And beyond.
What happens at the end of the traineeship then? Is it the idea that you'll be full time there, or do you have to go elsewhere? How does it work?
Sure. So Harper Macleod is quite unique. So in terms of a training contract, other firms, especially the big firms, they do rotations. Okay. So you do essentially 6-month placements in a department. So it could be 6 months in employment, 6 months in banking, 6 months in whatever, essentially. And you end up doing maybe 4 seats. Okay. Whereas where Harper Macleod is unique, you do the same seat for those 2 years of training, which is really good if you know what you want to do. And we feel like at the end of the 2 years, you're really well rounded. You know, I have some friends that have done the placements at other places, and at the end of the 6 months, that's when they just are starting to feel like they know what they're doing.
Of course,
and then they're moving on to another thing and having to relearn. And sometimes you might do your first seat and say, "Oh, I really love banking," but then you go to 3 other departments, and then you're coming back essentially a year later, and you might have to relearn some things. So we feel that at Harper Macleod, when you've trained in the same seat for 2 years, by the time you're ready to qualify, you're at a pretty high level. So what then happens? If you're fortunate enough, you have an interview where you're offered a newly qualified role as a solicitor. But then you can also apply to other places because of other firms will, they'll highlight NQ roles. So you have the opportunity to stay, or you can then go on, be a qualified solicitor elsewhere.
I think that sounds really interesting because, like, if you know what you're interested in doing, then that sounds like the perfect sort of way of doing it. And then these other places that do the sort of rotational thing, that would be amazing for people who are not quite as sure. So I think it's shown that it's either way. It can be a really good way of doing it. It just depends on where you're at, because obviously you've gone, right, I really like family law, and you've gone for, I really like the banking, financial.
And it's really good to hear these, because we don't hear that type of law much in school, if I'm being honest. It really is very much, the kind of criminal law that everybody thinks about, but they forget that, there's so many departments.
Types.
I mean, somebody I kind of met through golf, actually, was a football lawyer, and kind of forgot that, obviously, so like he started in contracts law and then moved into obviously dealing with footballers' contracts and making sure that they were getting, and I was like, that sounds fantastic.
Brilliant.
That's my dream job.
Exactly. And listen, I imagine American football contracts are very lucrative for sure, which is great. But no, it's good to hear, I think, from this perspective, and not just having criminal lawyers here, because this is the reality. There are so many different versions of law that's out there. And you mentioned, just cut about the traineeship and moving into that. That's also interesting, because I think people think they just qualify and then you're going to become a lawyer.
I feel like the nature of it as well. I think people don't generally understand at the offset how long it takes to qualify to be a lawyer. So you do your 4-year degree, and then you have a year postgraduate diploma, and then 2 years traineeship, and then you're newly qualified. And even as a newly qualified solicitor, the way that firms kind of structure it anyway, although you're all solicitors, you have different steps almost. So even if you start as a newly qualified solicitor at a firm, because of the way that the teams are set up, there's so much support anyway. And I think it's exactly what Arnold said about it being so collaborative, that I think after such a long time of training, you have so much knowledge, and applying it is really the biggest challenge, I think, in your traineeship. And then even when you are fully qualified, nobody's expecting you to just turn up and know absolutely everything. There's always going to be people supporting you, which is quite good as well.
That's
awesome.
good. And then I suppose that comes from it's not the same as in suits or whatever, where it's this big ego. It's the being able to ask questions and collaborate with others. So that's a positive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. And obviously for us, there's got to be a lot of different people listening to this, right? So some people might be looking to maybe get into law as doing a job previously and thinking about relearning. And maybe a high majority might be school people kind of thinking, is this a pathway for me? When you were at school, and you mentioned 5th year there and doing your hires and things like that as well, like that step out of school for people seems really alien until it comes round. And it's like, I always say it's like popping the bubble. Like you think school's hard, you think life in school's tough, and maybe a lot of it's the social aspect more than it is the actual academic aspect. But for you, when you were taking that next step, obviously different different areas. What kind of things would you give advice to yourself when you were younger about, like, would you do anything different? What kind of advice would you give yourself, I guess, at that time?
That's a very good question, actually. As you're asking, I'm trying to think at the moment. But when you're in high school, especially at that age, that's all you know. And those 4 or 5 years, it feels like a very, very long time.
Yes.
But it's actually quite a small time. So when I finished my hires in 6th year, I still wasn't certain exactly what I wanted to do. So I actually it wasn't a year out, but I went and played American football at an academy in Bristol. And that was just an opportunity to play in Europe, essentially. So it was an academy called Bristol Academy. And we used to play US military-based high schools in Europe. Oh. So, I was playing American football every weekend. I was going to Germany. Wow. We went to Italy. It was amazing. Yeah. And that also gave me time to really think about what I wanted to do. Yeah. So thankfully, I didn't have the pressure from family saying, you need to do this right now.
That's good.
They kind of gave me the space and to think about what I want to do. And again, you might have one idea, and another one comes. So you don't have to make an immediate decision. But there is merit in looking into different areas of law or whatever you want to do. And in this TikTok era, go on TikTok.
There's a lot of information there.
Exactly. Go on TikTok.
Promote it. It's there.
It is, definitely.
Just look into something you might have an interest in. And it might solidify what you want to do, or it might actually be like, oh, maybe that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Especially the days in the life videos, I think they're really, really good because I've quite often signposted people to watching them because they have an idea of what it looks like. They have this idea of like, I'm a lawyer and I'm in court and I'm doing this, that, and the next thing, and I'm, shuffling my papers and I don't know, all these things. But actually they might watch a day in the life and see the person traveling from here to there, driving 3 hours to get to a client, or going and doing this, that, and the next thing, and then they go, oh, that isn't quite what I thought it was, but it's maybe better, or maybe it's, oh, I'm not sure I would like that part of it. How could I get that enjoyment in something slightly different? So it can be really good to just see. Yeah. I think it's about being aware that there will sometimes be those rose-tinted glasses when people are sharing content about their day in the life. They're not going to share.
But you mentioned that point, which I thought was really interesting. I think we definitely see it on a daily basis, well, particularly me in the school I'm in. Culturally, you mentioned there a wee bit about, like, from your culture, quite commonly it's about pursuing the best possible jobs that are out there. And that can sometimes also be a challenge because for you might have a total opposite viewpoint of maybe some of the opportunities that have been suggested and stuff like that. And obviously that's not happened. You've moved into a similar role, but you took time to figure out that was right for you. And it's okay to get suggestions from home and that's okay to go, why not do that job? But you have to still process and go, is this right for me? Can I physically do that? Did you feel like, because you said it took a little bit of time to discover, but technically you're still in one of the suggested potential, industries. So what was that like for you?
Well, definitely, because my mum works in health. She's a nurse. So she definitely had her preference. And my dad was a banker. So, but it's difficult at that age because it's easy now to say you need to take charge of your career. Yeah. But at the time, you're still learning. And I was just laughing at the fact that when I was younger, my parents would say, get off those video games. You're not going to have a job out of that. And now streaming is...
It's a job.
It's a job,
I've got a gripe with that. I had that conversation, a couple of podcasts ago, I mentioned that my dad one day went, go and get a job. Like, you're not sitting here gaming, and now gamers are millionaires. Exactly. I'm thinking, I was good. I had a chance.
I'm sure one of my teachers at school told me, you'll not get a job for talking. Here I am.
I know.
All I do is talk.
But you can understand, like I always say, I do it flippantly, but you understand from parents' perspective, it's all about, making sure that you've got something behind you and a bit of stability. But whereas you're kind of similar but also opposite, because you're taking a leap of faith. You're moving away from what is safety in your kind of where you're from in Shetland, where it is self-employment, and although that has its own challenges, but you're used to that. You've seen it. It's been part of your culture, I guess. Yeah, so definitely. Did you feel there was a nervousness or a bit of a like, oh, this is totally different to what people expect?
I think I was a bit nervous, but I'm the youngest of 4. So although my 2 older siblings hadn't gone to uni, my sister, who's a year older than me, had. And she had started just before COVID, and then COVID kind of hit, and she'd been home doing her uni work from home, and then I started my degree in September 2021. So I kind of saw her at uni, realised actually it's maybe not as scary as I thought it was in my own head, and then just thought maybe I'll give it a go. Yeah. So
I love that though, because like we try and, I mean, who are we, right? We're careers advisors. We see kids once every so often, and we can't always be the main source of influence for them in their decision making, but we do try and always say that, you know, there is always fear of the next thing. Like, you know, I never thought I'd do uni, did do uni.
Same.
But it was totally different when you're going. I was older going into it, and like, you know, I was ready for it then. Whereas like leaving school, I still felt quite young and a bit like, oh, that's a big step. But actually, sometimes you just have to go and see what it's like and experience it. And maybe you don't stick it and you move into something else. I imagine law is probably one of those that have a high dropout-ish rate, because it is probably quite difficult, and people probably go, oh, I didn't really realise that, or maybe didn't research it enough. And those things you can't really account for. But
I think it does have quite high dropout rates, but I think people expect it to be exactly what you see on the TV, and it's not really like that at all, especially because of the way that it's set up. So the degree is a lot of kind of theory, and when you start your postgraduate diploma, that's how do you apply that in practice. And I think doing 4 years of learning why the law is the way that it is, I think that's a shock for some people. I think they don't really expect that. But then I guess what you can learn from that is that it's totally okay to try something and then go down a completely different route. Like, I think coming from me leaving school early, like before S6, starting an apprenticeship and then working full-time after finishing that, applying to uni and going, and I'm still obviously there. This is now my 5th year, almost done. I think the best advice really for somebody would be, don't be scared to try, and just as long as you start something and you're enjoying it, then you're doing the right thing. And you don't have to stick at the job that you thought maybe originally that you were going to be in. I think it's so important to just give something a go if you think that you're going to be interested in it. And if you're not that interested in it, please don't be scared to switch that, because as long as you're doing what's right for you at the time, then I think
absolutely. I mean,
perfect.
Well, we obviously will disagree, because we clearly wanted to be careers advisors.
Everyone, like
straight
from
from
the age
leaving
of
school,
2.
we said, you know what, we want to give back.
Exactly.
But no, we're both very similar to that. Your aspect as well. You know, totally just, we call it planned happenstance, just happened to get there, but you know, by picking the right opportunities and stuff like that as well, and probably similar, although you didn't go through like the apprenticeship route and stuff, you know, all through your learning you were still trying to figure out what was right for you. It's not like you just went, oh, banking, legal banking sounds great. It kind of happened through speaking to people or taking opportunities. So although different, still very similar in that respect.
I think also even when you look at that, like you were saying about you would have that was in the back burner, but there was other ideas coming forward. Like we'll quite often meet with young people and they will change their minds about what it is that they want to do. And I think sometimes they worry a little bit about that. I've had people go, oh, I'm really sorry, it's changed since last time. And I'm like, no, not at all. Like it's interesting. It's good to like get those ideas out and feel like you've explored it, and then if you go back to the back burner thing, fine. If you don't, also fine. And I think it's good to have that awareness of the different opportunities that you have, and that it's about what suits you.
There are stereotypes that comes with a job, because people think, oh, you need to have 5A hires,
yes,
you need to have gone to a private school, you need to look a certain way, and that's certainly not the case. You know, and there's also difficulty that comes with people. It's quite difficult sometimes to be what you cannot see. Just because you come from, you know, an estate somewhere, it doesn't mean you can't pursue what you want to do. So in high school or at any stage, if you have an idea about something you want to do, pop into the office. Quite often people are quite welcoming. They can give you 5 minutes to say, oh, this is what we do and so forth. And you don't know what that opportunity will bring for you. So definitely, and there's so many resources now to look into different things, but there's always a lot to gain from just having a chat with somebody.
It's a brilliant bit of advice, like that networking and dropping in. But I say this all the time, if you phoned a law firm, I bet you somebody will go, I'm happy to take 5 minutes just to tell you where you were at. And because maybe, like you say, one day that person ends up working with that company and they get to, you know, invest in that person. So that's like good advice, because we do talk about it all the time, don't we?
Yeah. Speaking of opportunities, sometimes opportunities come from different things, and actually it's about acknowledging the achievements that we maybe have. Now, you have already had, so you said you started in September, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah. And then in October, you won the Young Professional Rising Star Award at the Black Scottish Awards.
Yes.
And so can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, how did that feel? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, certainly. So at my previous role at Ashurst, you know, I'm very passionate about diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So I was one of the co-leads of the office's multiculturalism community. And again, it was just bringing psychological safety into the workplace, because I truly believe that in order for people to function well, they have to bring their true self to work. Whether it's your culture, your sexuality, your religion, whatever it may be. And, businesses need to be able to support that. So with that, I was able to bring in lots of different initiatives, such as celebrating Black History Month, Ramadan, Holi. We arranged a lot of different events, such as just having a Black History playlist during October. Cool. And the vibes in the office were good.
Can you do that every
Amazing. But it's like, these are like, that's quite a simple thing, like a playlist. That is quite a simple thing, and it can make such a big difference. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's just something that maybe people wouldn't think about doing.
Absolutely. And from that we built on to have there was already a book club, so we encouraged some literature from Black artists, and then we had I think it was an Afro-Caribbean themed meal where we hired an external caterer to bring and prepare meals. There was music, vibes, so it was really well received by everybody.
We were talking off camera again about spices, so I don't know. I think I'd have struggled if I was there for that meal. I think I definitely would have struggled.
I told them to tone it down a bit.
Keep it. And what about yourself in terms of your growth at the moment and stuff? Like, what's been the best part of your journey so far? Like, what have you enjoyed the most about what you're doing currently?
I'm not really sure. I think probably the best part was realising that actually law was something that I not only wanted to do but could do. I think I had it so stuck in my head that it wasn't a career that was achievable for me, especially because I didn't really know any lawyers. I think when I actually realised that I have been accepted to uni, I am going to go and give this a try and just see if it's for me. And the support that I received from Harper Macleod the entire way through has been amazing, and I don't think I could have done it without them. Just with a degree, every semester you do 3 modules, or at least that's the way that mine was set up, and they're all very different areas of law. And being at a big full service law firm, if I was ever sat looking at my assignment thinking I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, there was always somebody that could ask, and I could ask, and then I think that helped me so much with the degree, but also going into diploma, having seen the way that different departments operate and just things that you don't really think about in law. So you always think, I'll stand up in court with this document and I'll have all the right answers. But it's a lot of drafting and forms and emails even. I think people don't realise that a lot of the job is sending emails. And I think just knowing that before starting my traineeship in September is such a massive difference. And I just think I've enjoyed different things like throughout the entire journey. So
I love that. A lot of self-pride, but you should like you say, sometimes you end up in a position you think was never achievable, but you took chances, and I think that's the point. Like people always go, you're lucky, you're dead lucky to be where you are, but I think a lot of time you make your own luck if you take the opportunities, and also you have to work for it. Nobody's giving you the degree. Like people think that you have to still complete the qualification, you still have to go through the times where you're sitting there writing an essay at 12 at night stressed and
and then you accidentally delete it and then you have to start again.
I did that.
Just me? I did that. It was awful.
That was stressing me out. But,
I think my second one was better, to be fair, because I was just like, I don't care anymore.
But it's good advice. It's good advice, like in terms of just that it's not always like going to be what's the word? It's not always going to be, there's going to be challenging times where you said there about the paperwork and how long it can take, and there's a lot of factors that you can't account for. You talked about the collaboration, and you're waiting on, another department, and you're getting chased for it, and you're like, well, they've got it. So there's always going to be challenges, but it's been great for us to have this conversation with you guys, and because it really, I think, will be very, very useful for people pursuing this, and now use our het, because people might go to Harper Macleod and go, Joe said they said we could contact them at some point, so here's 15 emails from people going, I use free for a chat, so you might be het for a few conversations at some point.
Exactly.
I'm open to that. Honestly, I'm quite open to speaking to people on LinkedIn, so if anybody wants to reach out for any advice,
definitely.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's something that's almost forgotten. Like for us, like LinkedIn is a thing of but actually a lot of young people don't have LinkedIn. But I think if they do, it's so impressive, and actually them reaching out and like speaking in that, like communicating in that quite grown up social media aspect.
Absolutely.
I think that can be really positive.
It's a direct link with people in the current job roles. I mean, you never used to be able to do that. So like, and most people, from my experience anyway, although I'm not looking for another job, LinkedIn are quite good at getting back to you. There's a lot of collaboration, which is good that way as well.
Definitely.
So amazing. Right, one last thing, right, just before we go, because I never asked this, and I'm very conscious of, we are Skills Development Scotland, and skills are really important, and we're there to help kids figure out the right skills for the job roles. So from each of you, what would you say is the most important skill that you have learned or developed or would be for that job?
I honestly think that the most important one that I've learned so far is public speaking, and not being scared to speak in front of anyone, really, because you always think people are judging you, but nobody's judging you. And I think in terms of family law, although I've not had to stand up in court yet and do it because I'm not a trainee yet, being able to stand up and speak and articulate what you mean, I think is a massive thing. And I think public speaking is really something that should be emphasised from an early age.
That's a great point. What about yourself then?
I think what I mentioned earlier, collaboration.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. Right. It's very seldom that you have a lawyer that works by themselves. Yeah. Most of the time you're working as part of a team. And even those that do work for themselves, you rely on the other side to get a transaction going, especially on the corporate side. So you might say, my client wants this, and we're sticking to it. And the other side will say, well, we need this. So there's a bit of give and take. So you have to collaborate within your internal teams, but also with the external, with the other side. So, and they build that in you when you're doing the diploma or LLB, because you do a lot of group work. So, and sometimes there's a stigma that I need to be the best and I need to prove I'm better than everybody else. And it just doesn't work like that in practice. So you need to be open to working with other people, learning from other people, because they're going to have a different perspective to you. Because we all have blind spots. So to be a robust lawyer, or in any profession really, you need to be a collaborative person.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been so useful for me, definitely. And I think the people listening, thank you for joining us. And thanks for everyone for listening. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Awesome.